Hello everybody, I selected 2 cards today that are our messages for the day, and I'm doing a pick a card reading with them as well. So these are the 2 different cards for you to choose from. The first one we have here is Sensuality. It is safe and beautiful to express my sensuality. This is going to deal with deep healing or a balance needed for you whenever it comes to your femininity. This is also a reminder that those of us with wombs can create life. And we need to remember that that's sacred. It's considered a divine passage, a sacred temple. And so with this comes inherent wisdom, and we need to continue to empower ourselves. The other card here is Mystery. I trust the mystery of life. The unknown is unsettling. Even when we prep and plan, the future is unpredictable. Mystery is the magic of life. Approach without fear. So this is just a reminder about people who are having anxious thoughts and dealing with anxiety and struggling with their anxiety. This one would be for you. So go ahead and take a second and figure out which one you want, and we will get started. You can go ahead and skip forward if you want to the card you want to go to. I pulled these cards out and I looked at them very briefly, but I didn't do like a hardcore analysis of them. For those of you who have been watching my videos as I've come back, I've been doing things a little bit differently. I was especially trying to kind of like familiarize myself with spirituality again, because it had been a while. I used to run a spiritual practice and I felt very in tune with the cards. I felt very in tune with astrology, but then over time I started to have these other goals and I just got completely burnt out. I was feeling very used in a way, and I feel like I've learned recently a little bit more, like just looking at other people in the industry and how they're working, and I was giving too much of myself up, I think. So I'm going to do things a little differently. With these retrogrades happening, it's time to reflect. So I'm going to kind of, make different announcements, make different shifts, just depending on what it is that I need particularly to continue to do this. So thank you for your patience. And here is the first card, Sensuality. It is safe and beautiful to express my sensuality. I love this card. All the pink and then the hands making the vulva shape. I think it's a really good reminder of how much power we do have to have the womb, because we do create life. And, there's lots of theories out there that a lot of the patriarchal, jealousy and division really comes from that deep ingrained jealousy that we can create life. Whether that's true or not, it's just, we really do see it in parallels of wanting to keep women oppressed, keep women down, and exploit our feminine nature. You know what I mean? Like, they want to exploit empathy. They want to exploit nurturing and caring. That's not to say that every single woman is the same way, of course, and that every man is the same way. It's just not the way that it is. But there does need to be a balance of masculinity and femininity, not only in ourselves, but also within our society. So whenever femininity is rejected the way that it is in order to keep women oppressed so they can be exploited, we're going to have this lack of empathy within our society. And that's really what we're seeing right now. So this is a reminder that that empowerment is incredibly important, not only for ourselves and for our safety, also globally. You've seen there are so many countries that were more progressive whenever you look back like 30 or 40 years. And then now it's like women are having to completely cover up their bodies, and the violence against them every day is just vast and intense. So not only for ourselves right here in this moment, but also for the future, and for future women, and for little girls who are going to grow up, and they deserve to have their own future, right? So that empowerment is really important. I have Ace of Swords here. So this is telling me sort of the beginning of learning more about this. I think that it's important to share with other people the knowledge that we gain. And for me, I've always been the type of woman to stand up for myself, even when I was a little girl. I would say that things weren't fair if, my male cousins got things that I didn't get. That would drive me insane, because I would be like, I didn't choose the way that I was born. And usually my family would just go along with it. They would be like, oh, Madison, that's just the way that she is. That's just the way that she thinks. She'll figure it out one day. But I never did. I never stopped fighting for equity, for equality. Like, I just never stopped. It did eventually start to anger some of my family members, because it was the status quo. The patriarchy was the status quo. You be quiet. You don't know what you're talking about. Men are able to do whatever they want, and you're supposed to just serve them no matter what they do. And so being the first of a generation to decide differently. I mean, we're only in like this very short time period of women being able to have their own independence in this way. We've only had one generation of it. And so being a part of that kind of gives us the roadblocks on how to defend it and how to continue to be like, no, we're not going to stand down and we're not going to let it slip us by. I have the moon here. Intuition and dream work really popped out to me. So it's important for us to use our intuition and really idealize, manifest what it is exactly that we would want this next generation of life to look like. You know, I think a lot of people are telling us to prepare. What I've been seeing is people telling us to prepare for the matriarch, to prepare for matriarchy to take over, because we're kind of at this weird post-apocalyptic dystopian, like they're fumbling and they're failing at being in control, because we need things like empathy and we need things like nurturing and stuff like that. You know, we're not self-sustaining, and we need community, we need growth, because the other option of destruction is not viable for human life. And humanity's entire purpose is to survive. Constantly, we've risen above and survived. So that's going to be important for us, is to use our intuition to sort of make these guiding changes. And as we're using this Ace of Swords energy, kind of starting to learn that language and learn how to stand up for ourselves, learn how to like pave the road. I have 5 of Cups here. And I think for a lot of us, we're having to walk away from the way that we expected things to be. I also get the feeling that for some of you guys, these are relationships, or maybe even how you thought a relationship would manifest for you. And maybe you're having to walk away from that. I can see that for a lot of people, like this struggle to, what's it called? To find someone on your levels. Find somebody who accepts your femininity and accepts who you are. Somebody who's a little bit, you know, you've repeatedly interacted with people who are harsh and who want to exploit you. And now's the time to walk away from those relationships and no longer indulge in them. I have 9 of Pentacles here. And this is the fruits of our labors. It's starting to sprout up. Even though we're in this really tough period of transition, it's like extremely difficult, but we're also seeing like worldwide that society cannot continue the way that it's going. If we want to survive, if humanity wants to survive, we cannot continue the way that things are going. And so for us to start to get to the fruits of our labor, I think that this is coming from a place of it's time. You know what I mean? It's time. Our ancestors, the women of the past, have planted these seeds for us throughout history and throughout centuries. Little baby steps too. If you think about the things that women were not allowed to do, like just a century ago, and then a century before that, little baby steps to get to the point of where we are now. And it's important, really important to hold on to that. And it's really important to take advantage of that, of the fruits of our labor. You know, more women are educated now than ever before historically, and we need to take advantage of that, and we need to hold on to it. I have the Tower here. Destruction, change. I mean, that's literally what I'm talking about, right? The systems in place are completely falling apart and collapsing, but we have the ability to use our sensuality, use our intuition, and remind ourselves that we are the ones that create life. We're the ones who create the divine passage of life. Without us, they can't do it, right? So remember that you have that power, and remember not to give it up to people who don't deserve you. This 5 of Cups energy, let them go, let them walk, you know, let them walk or you walk. That's actually more of what it's going to be. You're going to have to walk while they like crawl behind you, because that's what we have going on society wise right now. Whenever there is this desperate need for a group of people to exploit another group of people, and the people who have been exploited now have enough freedom to say no. And Obviously, they're angry about that, but this is your reminder to continue to be empowered, continue to use your education, and continue to take advantage of what you can earn and what you can do. You know what I mean? If you've been thinking about going to school, or you've been thinking about furthering your knowledge or furthering your career in some way, this is your message to do it. Take advantage of what you have here right now, because women of the past could not do what you can do. 100%. So take advantage of it. All right, that's group 1. I'm going to put this all away and go on to group 2. For group 2, it is mystery. I trust the mystery of life. This is people who deal with anxiety. I am one of them as well. I worry and worry and worry. I said this in the TikTok video associated with this earlier that I think I'm going to post it on Instagram as well. But you know, you spend so much time worrying about something, and then whenever you actually get to it and it's not how you thought it was going to be, all that worrying didn't do anything for you. I know that's easier said than done. I have an anxiety disorder. I get it. I worry about things that have nothing to do with anything, you know, or I get this intense feeling of panic and anxiety, and I don't know what to attach to it. So I just start worrying about stuff, and I have to catch myself doing that. I do take a beta blocker for the really, really bad days, but that doesn't change my thoughts. All that does is keep me from my body creating like a panic attack response, but I still keep my thoughts. So I'll still have my anxious thoughts that I still have to work through. You know, I'm not taking anything that numbs that or changes that or anything. That's just me having to work through that part of myself. So some of you guys might be in a similar situation where you're always worrying and anxiety is just like a forefront of your life. Oh, the very first card, 8 of Swords. Paralysis, trapped, fear. Every time I see this card, I think you're trapped in a prison of your own making. Your mind entraps you. And this is for me as well. You know, you get these moments where you're like, I can't do it. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm extremely limited. I'm restricted. And sometimes it can be accurate. Like sometimes it can be like, yeah, you really are restricted by your finances or whatever it might be. But what we have to remember is that our thoughts lie to us. Not many people know this, but whenever you're growing up and you hear negative comments from people, you internalize it. And then those turn into intrusive or impulsive thoughts. Intrusive more of because of these past things that have been told to you. So a lot of people react because of these thoughts. And they come from other people putting their trauma and projecting it onto us. So your thoughts are not always necessarily a representation of the truth. Our thoughts lie to us, and they tell us the things that we're afraid of from childhood. So this is your reminder to take a moment to think about the accuracy of what people are telling you, or what your thoughts are. Think about the accuracy. Try to remember what is the truth. And sometimes you have to also look internally and think intuitively. I was talking to my mom recently about how I have a hard time with just like finding employment. You know, whenever I do finally land it, something happens. And I've interviewed and I never land it. And I always feel like I'm meant to do something for myself. I felt that since I was young. But I always try to kind of submit to the corporate world and submit to capitalistic society, and it has never worked out. And so I was like, I feel like just I have this deep feeling inside like I don't deserve it or something. And my mom was like, maybe it's just not what you're meant to do. Maybe it's not necessarily you don't deserve it. It's just that you're focusing on the wrong thing. And that really hit me because I am thinking about making a huge career shift. I'm going to keep doing this spiritual practice because I really want to incorporate that into what I'm going to do for the future, like just beyond now. But I do have to go back to school for this. Getting out of my head, basically, to pursue something new and something different. And I think that's what's going to be for a lot of you guys, is to embrace the fact that you don't really know how things are going to turn out, but that's okay. I have 4 of Wands here. I think we need to really celebrate how far we've come. I think a lot of you guys have already done a lot of work whenever it comes to your anxieties. And and you have kind of created this like foundation. I see preparation here, so I get a feeling that you have kind of created a space in your life where you feel safe. And yeah, I feel like I need more on this. Oh yeah, we have 3 of Cups here. So you do have some sort of community. You have people around you that are helping you. And so you're not in this alone. This is what I'm getting from this. You're not in this alone. You might sometimes feel like you are, but maybe you have to look outside of yourself and look at the people around you and see that they are actually beneficial to your life, and they are helping you, and they are like helping you achieve the next level. I have Knight of Cups here. Knight of Cups can be, I mean, you see it, outgoing, charming, generous, but there's also selfish in this. I personally, my association with this card are people who are emotionally manipulative. So for me, I'm getting, try not to be emotionally manipulative. You might be having this internal battle with yourself where you feel like I had just said in my example, like you feel like you don't deserve things, and then you use that to lash out on other people. And, or maybe even make yourself the victim. Like you're always in situations where you're making yourself the victim. And this reading is trying to remind you that you have more than you think. You have some sort of community that's there for you. But for some reason, you're buying into this intrusive or this intrusive thought that you're all alone and no one cares about you and whatever it might be. And maybe there's a worry that you might end up alone is maybe what I'm getting here. And that's what I have with I trust the mystery of life, I think, is that you're so worried about the future. I don't want to end up alone. You think about it all the time. Or like, I don't want to die. I don't want the people I love to die. And you just like worry about it whenever it's like, you can't predict what's going to happen. And worrying about it makes life just fly by. And you spent your whole life worrying instead of living in the moment, and instead of doing the things that you can actively do and appreciating the people around you that are in your circle. I have 10 of Swords here. I feel like you're at the end of something. And I hope that this means that it's going to be a new start for you, being at the end of this. You can tell they've been just stabbed so many times. So what I'm getting from that, though, is that you have had, like I was saying, thoughts are not always real. I feel like what you have from your past maybe is a lot of abandonment, or maybe parental figures that talked down to you a lot and made you feel like you were worthless and don't deserve love, or whatever it might be. I'm getting that from you in a big, intense way. And so those are the thoughts that come for you late at night. Those are the thoughts that come for you when you feel lonely. And so I just want you to remember and take a moment and think about the people that you do have in your life. If you currently feel like you really do not have a community, then it's time to start one. It's time to start reaching out to people. You can do this online or in person, like just people who are interested in the things that you're interested in. Try to look for, just like positive communities, or maybe getting into a hobby and learning some new stuff, and then you can go join. I don't know about where you live, but in my current little town that I have at the library, once a week they do a hobby night, and you can show up with whatever hobby you have and you can just meet people. I haven't gone because I have social anxiety, but it's just like, it's an option. So it's time for you to really embrace that. And then if you do have friends in your life, make sure to check in on them so that they know to check on you too. Don't, think of things just going one way all the time. Make sure that you're putting in as much effort as you want put back into you. Definitely do a check on that though. If you're always the one reaching out, then maybe give some space, or maybe recognize that that person is not on your level, and maybe you do need to make a new or different connection or friendship. It should be mutual. It should be equal. Okay, so that is my message for you. Thanks for watching.